Cat Luigi is spawed. This is an incredibly hard thing to notice in-game, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't even really notice it until the Switch version came out with its colored stamps. Being that, yes, Cat Luigi's suit is meant to be spawed, it's just impossible to see it on his model even when looking up close, because the colors are just way too close. And then once you look at the stamp, you can see that, oh yeah, this is a much darker green, he's meant to be spotted. It's just such a weird little thing, and, you know, I believe that Toad is supposed to be striped too, but that's easier to see. 1-2 Infinite Lives. A well-known trick in the game just being that, in true Mario fashion, it's an infinite one-up trick, where in level 1-2, you can throw a Koopa shell, which is already a rare thing in this, into these two narrow little walls, and then continuously jump on it until you get a bunch of one-ups and reach the max jumper, which is just a bunch of crowns. Riding in shells. Speaking of, once you're doing the rare case of carrying a Koopa shell, you can, as you're running, press the crouch button, and you'll begin riding it, kind of like the blue shell power-up in New Super Mario Bros. Not only that, but the gold shell, which is, again, a really rare occurrence in this game, has a special property where as you're riding it, you'll continuously get coins as you slide along. Yellow Toad's unique color. Here's where we start touching on my overly obsessive autism stuff. So, you know how every playable character in this game is color-coded? Yes, so that shares with the Toads too. Red Toad has the same color as Mario's. Green Toad has Luigi's green. Blue Toad has Blue Toad's blue. And then Yellow Toad, of course, is completely unique, having their own color that's not shared with any of the main playable characters. Pretty interesting, right? World Warp Pipes. So here's something that a lot of people miss in this game because they're super well hidden, being that there's a World Warp Pipe in 1-2, that famous level, and then again later in about World 5, that one is especially more unknown. Of course, this is nothing new to Mario, but it's especially odd here because of how much this game emphasizes completion, and you think like, oh, maybe it's just there for like speedrunners, people who want to see how fast they can get to the end of the game. Well, yeah, but you still need green stars to unlock the mainline levels, which makes it all the more odd and just super unique, and it's just such a strange thing. I'm sure speedrunners have a rule around this. Maybe you can just barely use both of the skip pipes and get to the end with as many green stars as you need without repeating or backtracking, who knows. Only mainline game with playable green Toad. Yep, exactly as it says. Because of the 4-player integration in the Switch version for the Captain Toad levels, which adds a green Toad, strangely no Toadette, we'll get into that. Yes, this makes it so that this is the only mainline game where you can play as a green Toad. Usually it's just yellow, blue, or the forgotten default Toad, which is a weird thing in the series overall. And otherwise, I'm pretty sure the only games where a green Toad was playable is like the baseball games, where it is just green Toad. Aside from that, it's probably like Strikers, or just like a color swap of like random multiple Toads for the team. Pipe entrance variations. A nice little detail in the game being that when you enter the pipe, there's the normal sound effects and entrance, but this changes depending on how fast you enter the pipe. For example, if you ground pound into the pipe, you'll go down it not only faster, but the sound effect will actually be a little bit pitched up too, which is something that might be a bit hard to realize. Luigi is the quote-unquote best. Okay, so obviously this is something that's pretty subjective, but when you look and see people talk about around this, a lot of people just, overall, again, you get your answers, agree that Luigi is the best. However, many say Mario, some might say Peach, maybe even Rosalina. I don't really hear anybody say Toad, even though he's fast, but poor him. Anyway, this is because of his jump height and speed without much to really sacrifice aside from his, like, slipperiness. Not only that, but I'm pretty sure he's the go-to choice for speed runs with all these qualifications, again, especially on the Switch version, when you do these crazy leap over the level types of skids. Again, that's why he's just kind of like the quote-unquote best. Mii Fairies. The only thing that did not make it from the Wii U version to the Switch version, aside from obvious stuff like touch controls and microphone stuff, and these are probably pretty well forgotten too, because they died even before that with the Miiverse. and being that they were Mii's who would appear on the overworld map in little fairy outfits, kind of like the Sprixies, and you would see a message from them that's relevant to the world pop up from the Miiverse if you went up to them. And despite that, there is still some data left over for them on the Switch version, of course, and it kind of reminds me of how we're like some Hyrule Warriors. Next up, we'll get into the middle of the iceberg.